In an era where many artists believe it is worth more to go viral and boost their streaming numbers over anything else, the quality of most albums coming out in the current era of music we are in have seen a staggering decline. From records that are way too long to projects that feel like they are exclusively trying to manufacture hits while disregarding everything else that makes a record great. Listening to new albums from most artists has begun to feel like a chore for music listeners, and as a result, the album format is being diluted and tarnished in ways that could be doing irreversible damage. So with the way labels are pushing albums to feel more like a brand update rather than a bold artistic statement, we are at a point where the quality of most records has gone out the window, and what listeners are left with is some of the most cut and dry music imaginable. Whether it's the over-reliance on nostalgia or following worn-out trends, so much of what streaming platforms are pushing and what radios are playing is trying to make it easier than ever for the music business to get the most out of the absolute least, and in spite of this, the only thing that's happened is that more listeners than ever are becoming disengaged with supporting the same generic material. In an era where attention spans are already shrinking, artists and the industry have only made this problem worse as they constantly give us music that is so plain and derivative that it leaves people feeling nothing other than absolute boredom, and when something bores listeners, it's failing to even elicit the same anger that other declining art forms and mediums are getting from their supporters, and as a result of this, it seems like the album could die a slow and quiet death. So with the complacent way so many records are made, and with so many artists doing just the bare minimum to get through their next project, while for a while it seemed like the only people calling these artists out on lazy projects were critics, we are now at a point where fans are becoming purely disenfranchised, and this has never been more clear than as we witness the sales figures from so many artists drop across the board. What really put this into perspective for me is that we are now in a time where even a rapper as legendary and iconic as Lil Wayne can't sell over 35,000 copies first week, and the reason why albums from figures of his and similar statures are not pulling anywhere near the numbers they did only a few years ago is because the value of the album is being destroyed, and when we look at who we have to blame, there's nobody to point fingers at other than the artists who have made up the majority of the mainstream music industry. When the figures who hold all of the power and influence over an entire medium consistently underdeliver with their projects that are backed with massive singles and marketing campaigns behind them. In an era where it's already difficult for people to dedicate their attention to just about anything, so many of the biggest artists in the industry have made it damn near impossible because the new music coming out is giving listeners nothing to grasp onto. So overall, with declining sales, shrinking attention spans, and decreasing interest in what so many artists are putting out, the way the album has been treated by most of the modern music industry has put it in a place where many see little to no value in new releases, but at the same time, this isn't telling the full story. Now, as one side of the music industry has seen sales drop and interest plummet, there is a whole other world of artists who are seeing all-time levels of success with their albums serving as the antithesis to everything that is wrong in the industry today. While so much of the music world seems to have stagnated and plateaued when it comes to moving the needle forward, there is still a plethora of artists whose latest albums are pushing the format into becoming something more powerful and boundary-pushing than it has ever been, and this isn't a counter movement to everything wrong in the industry, but it's simply the product of artists who operate on their own terms and merely create based on where their passion and vision takes them and nothing else. Whether this entails creating new genres and fleshing them out through an unprecedented concept album, or using a record to create a space to reflect on who you are on the inside in a world where everybody only wants to see what's on the out, there are certain artists who are elevating the album format to create some of the most complex and compelling records that have ever been released. Now, while so many of these albums are striving to break new territory and reinvent the wheel, they don't have to be this ambitious and could just be incredibly fun or extremely proficient in any aspect. We are seeing this happen right now with 21 Savage's new album American Dream, which had the biggest streaming debut of any trap album on Spotify and has now spent back-to-back weeks at #1 on the Billboard 200 after just connecting with listeners for being an exciting album. So to make a great album that truly resonates with people, there are so many different paths artists are taking to make an impact on audiences, but at the end of the day, what all of these projects have in common is that no matter what, they make it worth the time you will spend listening to them. Whether it's an album as musically one-dimensional as 21 Savage's or something as abstract as a Tyler the Creator project. What these albums and so many others have in common is that every facet of them serves a purpose. Where so many albums come out today and intend to waste your time simply to feed an algorithm, the albums that are making a difference aren't dragged out to meet a quota and are simply projects that serve to be a statement from the artist first, with all of the success and accolades that they may see coming as a mere fruit of their labor. So while it is easy to look on the surface and say that the album is dying, this statement just isn't fully true because we have seen so many great records that have come out recently that haven't just evolved the album as a format, but they have evolved the music as a whole. So as we try to understand how records can be so well made and impactful in an era where there is also so much garbage, we need to understand what separates these two sides of the industry as a whole. Now, when it comes to the authors who are defining this trend, whether it's rappers like Kendrick Lamar, Tyler the Creator, or Travis Scott, or even singers like SZA or The Weeknd, what's great about artists like these and so many others is that they have established their creative worth outside of what's going on in the larger industry, so no matter what, fans are going to tune into them because they know that listening to an album from a Tyler the Creator comes with a guarantee of quality that any other poppin' record with a hot single merely can't. It's absolutely amazing that artists like these and collaborators they affiliate with have this trust with listeners, and it has allowed for so many special acts to absolutely thrive creatively and find the right audiences to engulf in their unique offerings. So when we look at the consumption of albums, when it comes to the success that the biggest creatives in the music world have had at the helm of their moment-defining, boundary-pushing records, between their album sales and the tours that have followed them, these artists have shown that the album isn't dying because people are inherently less interested in full-length experiences, but it's declining as a whole because there are not enough records connecting with listeners in ways that are truly impactful. This is why with nearly every single monumental music release in this era, we have seen the artist go on a massive record-breaking tour where fans are getting deeper and deeper into the culture of a fandom and of the album, and in a way, these shows have been living proof that the need and appreciation people have for albums has never been more alive, and all we need is just more artists to care like a Kendrick Lamar or a J. Cole does. Now, beyond just the A-list, we have seen this same sentiment ring true in niche communities like the underground hip-hop scene because of how distinct the albums artists have to offer are, and seeing pretty sizable communities form around this more inaccessible type of music shows that there is worth to all types of albums on all levels. So from albums that win Grammys to some of the most abstract and anti-establishment records you will ever find, there are so many labors of love that are not just becoming beloved albums, but for many of them, you can truly make a case that they are some of the best albums of all time. So as we try to understand how two different sides of the music industry can be so intertwined yet so different, the question we have to ask ourselves is, are albums heading into another golden age, or are they near extinction as the definitive way to consume music? With so many albums just coming by the wayside, while so many other records are not just commanding listeners' attention, but are making a genuine impact on their lives, it feels like we are in a massive game of tug-of-war where, depending on whatever side wins, it may just end up changing the future of music consumption for better or for worse. On one side of the industry, we are being shown that the value of an album is being diluted and tarnished. Meanwhile, on the other, with every new release, we are seeing artists embody just how transient music as an art form can be, as we are witnessing creative after creative use the power of the full-length musical format to its full potential. It's weird to say, but while so many albums struggle and so much garbage tries to pollute our ears, due to the fact that at the same time we are getting albums that have never been more creative or as emotionally healing or as cinematic, while we are seeing a distortion of what the album was always intended to be, we are also seeing a golden age of some sort where for the first time ever, the album feels truly lawless, ready to take us in any direction that may just change our lives forever. So I know, while it is very frustrating to have to sit through another 20-song DJ Khaled album that is the most annoying thing on the planet, as long as we have creatives who are trying to change the music world for the better with albums. The format won't just ever die, but it will continue to thrive as it becomes a more powerful and poignant tool of expression. So let me know, what do you think about the current state of albums right now? Is the good outweighing the bad, or is sitting through all of the painstaking generic releases just too much for you? Be sure to leave a comment, and if you enjoyed this video and want to find out some good albums that will definitely make you appreciate music some more, hit that subscribe button. It is free to do and it helps me out a ton. Thank you for watching. Mr. F, Fantastic Hip Hop, signing out. Catch you in the next video.